Can I create a song using music production in just 30 days? That's what I'm gonna find out.
Everyone has the same gear. It's all about using the gear in the way it's not supposed to be used.
The music that you create that's like true to you, it's sort of just this combination of like all the things that have inspired you and things you love. Even if it's weird, if you love it and you're all about it and it's you and it's different, like people will appreciate it.
So my song massively got ruined. All my instruments reset to the default. It basically means my song sounds like garbage. I've always loved dance music, and I've been to big festivals where you see a song come on and then you see 15,000 or 20,000 people just dance in unison and just be free and let go. This month I had to choose a challenge that I could do with just one arm. Can I, in just 30 days, create a song that people love, that people want to dance to, that people feel good listening to? My background with music is I did grow up playing a lot of piano, and I have played guitar and violin. I did my violin challenge. So music isn't completely new to me, but production is something completely new. I'm going to be trying to use a software called Ableton, which I've already had a look at, and it seems crazy complicated, and there's just a million knobs and dials and buttons and things like that. Really excited for this one. Hopefully it's going to be a fun one that we can dance together. So let's do it. Step one is getting into some of the content. I've chosen Ableton because apparently you can use it to DJ live if I ever get to the point where I want to DJ live. Another thing that's pretty cool is one of my favorite artists, Flume, uses Ableton. So if I can make the music that one of my favorite artists does, then that's good enough for me. I've just Google searched Ableton course. I found a 3-hour course, and I'm gonna just slowly get through it and learn hopefully some of the basics so that I can start playing around. Let's do it.
So learning what the main functions and features actually do.
So I've been playing around with a few things that I know about Ableton. And I made my first little sound, so let's have a listen. These are my drums. And then I'll add in some bass. Sounds a bit like Ghostbusters. And then I've got a celestial ambient noise. And then I can mix that up. So that's my first foray into music production. Not very good, but not terrible. I enjoyed that. All right, back to work. Let's keep doing that. There's something important that I want to talk about. It's this idea of what is like the minimum effort that you can put forth to get results the quickest. And that's something that's really important with all of these learning challenges. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, backflips or salsa dancing. You need to think about like, what is like the key thing that you should be focusing on to move you the fastest. And so when it comes to something like salsa dancing, maybe I'm working on just getting the rhythm first and not trying to stack on too much. And the same thing applies to music production. It is stupidly overwhelming when you start out, a million different things that you can do. So I spoke to a couple of people about production, and they just say, get some presets, get some templates, start there. A preset is essentially a sound that someone's already created using a synthesizer. And so I can find a sound that I already like and then alter it slightly to make it my own. And then once I've mastered that, then I can try to do something that's a little bit more creative. I've just downloaded a course and I paid money for it, but it came with all these templates and presets, and that's going to be my starting point. Then hopefully I can evolve from going through that process to doing something a little bit my own. We'll see how I go. I've just created my first like build up to drop, and I love it. So let me play it for you guys. What do you reckon? I love this. So that was my first project, recreating a song that someone else created, but learning in the process of recreation. And that was a really good way to kind of get a taste of what it would be like to make my own song and think about drums and groove and rhythm and frequencies and bass. The theme or the genre that I really like is something called future bass. which is the type of music that Flume or Nightmare makes. And it's just a really fun, dancey kind of track with big beats and big drops, and something that I thought would be fun for this challenge. One thing that I'm leveraging in my songs is I do play a bit of piano, and I've been playing for quite a long time. One of my favorite songs is this song called Clair de Lune, which goes like this, if you haven't heard it. One of my favorite parts in the song goes like this. And so I'm actually going to take that because I really like that. I think it sounds awesome. I'm going to kind of speed it up a little. So I'm using that kind of effect in my song, and then I'm using all my chords that are positioned from that scale. So I've kind of put together my first completely original idea. All new instruments, all new chords, making my own sounds. So if you have a listen to this. Clair de Lune by Claude Debussy. So in my drop, I've got that kind of power finish. So let's listen to that all together. So I wanted to kind of incorporate that kind of beautiful lick and kind of that modern electronic sound. And so I've used that whole chord structure, which I think is D flat minor for this whole song. I want to get a full song done before I catch up with the producer, and I'm really curious to see what he thinks, where he thinks I've gone terrible, where he thinks I've done well, and hopefully this idea will become my finished song by the end of the month. Remix time. So I was lucky enough to catch up with my friend Mitch, who's a really successful producer that produces under the name Hawksburn. And I was really excited to show him the song that I'd been working on for hours. And so I played him the song, but unfortunately, all the instruments reset and the song sounded terrible. And I think that happened because I moved the folders around on my computer, and so it couldn't find the right presets. And when I moved it back to the right place, it just didn't re-pick it up. So that was really disappointing, but it still was really useful to catch up with someone that does this for a living. And he gave me heaps of really good advice when it comes to mixing and mastering and using samples and loops and how to make me more efficient moving forward. So my song massively got ruined. I've been spending the last couple of hours trying to find new instruments. It's gonna sound like a completely new song. It's just one of those painful tasks that can happen when you're learning something new and you forget to save something or you don't save it in the right way. It's challenging when you have a new thing that you're learning that also has a creative component, like listening and trying to figure out what sounds good, because you need to be in a creative mood as well as a disciplined mood. So it can be hard to get the willpower to actually fight through it. But I'm there, so let's do it. I'm gonna run you through some of like the sounds and the ideas that I have in my song that actually build it out and make it what it is. So let's start with the intro. So it's basically just a simple 4-chord progression. I added a bass, which sounds kind of nothingy, but it just fills out the sound. The coolest thing that really makes this is reversing one of the piano sounds to get that kind of swelling, building sound to make it a little bit more ominous. And then I have this like frequency shift effect to kind of make it feel like it's dropping out. And then we go into the build. It's adding in some drums, it's adding in more bass, it's upping the tempo. So I think the main sounds are this pluck. It's kind of like a full pad, a bit high. It's got a bit of reverb, it's got the bass cut out, it's got a bit of delay. And then I add on in the second part of that, this kind of plucking sound to kind of feel like the tempo is rising. So if we have a listen, the snare is getting a bit faster. And then we go into our drop. The coolest part in the drop, in my opinion, is this kind of little lick that plays. I kind of fill out the sound with more of these later on, and these are like a bit deeper, so we have a listen to this one. So they're working together to get that effect in the spaces. And that's kind of what future bass is, where you play a big sound and then you leave some space to do something interesting in between the chords. Yeah, and that's kind of like a little breakdown of some of the elements that are going on. So I finished my final song. It was a really cool month. It definitely was one of those challenges where you really got to get in the nitty-gritty and learn a lot of these little technical things. And sometimes you play around with a creative idea for a couple of hours and then you realize it sounds terrible and you cut it and you haven't really made any progress. But there's also something really beautiful about just engaging your full body and mind as you're creating sounds and you're getting really into what you're doing. This month, my challenge was to create a song that people love, and I want you guys to let me know what you think. I'd love you to let me know if you think it's awesome or if you think it's terrible. Leave me a comment, let me know. Before we play the song, next month I've got a really cool challenge where I'm going to be doing some crazy obstacles like the ones you see on Ninja Warrior. I'm going to pick maybe 4 or 5 and see if I can complete them in a month. So if you want to check that out, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, help support the channel, and let's get into the song. But before we do that, as always, happy learning.